Hey,
Hey,
everybody, good evening and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. Tonight's topic is overcoming intimidation. And I was telling Jim earlier, it's like, who comes up with these things? Because I'm going to have some fun and you're going to learn some stuff. And hopefully, I've got an assignment at the end of tonight that I want all of you to take seriously. And we're going to do a follow up on it. I'll even give you until next year to do the homework. Okay. So that's the heads up. So, what are we talking about here with intimidation? So, the first thing is there are four things that cause people in general, a little psychology here, to be intimidated. So, I'm going to give them to you. You can write them down if you want, or you can just pick the one that you usually use yourself, because most of us fall into that. Number one is perceived inadequacy. You're feeling less skilled, less knowledgeable, or less experienced, or you're comparing yourself to someone else in a certain context. It might be in your field, it might be, just community status or something like that. So, perceived inadequacy. And this is what I'm going to tell you right now: put your ego away. All right? Put your ego away. There's no such thing as somebody being better than you are. They might have different circumstances, but feeling that you're inadequate to someone else by skill or knowledge, there's always somebody smarter than us. There's always somebody more skilled than us, right? So put that one away. But that's number one, perceived inadequacy. And I think as we're starting off new careers, new jobs, or even a new job within a current job, we can sometimes feel that inadequacy, but it's perceived. It doesn't mean that it's true. Okay, that's number one. Nice to see a bunch of gentlemen jumping in here tonight too. So congratulations.
I called him
Topic
out on a
is,
text.
yeah, overcoming intimidation is easy. Perceived inadequacy is one stumbling block. Second stumbling block is authority or status. When we're interacting with someone who's of a higher position, and again, that might be a social position or it might be in the hierarchy of an organization. Sometimes, if it's investors, the people who are controlling the money, the board members who are controlling what's happening. So sometimes we can just feel like uh, our station is less than theirs. Okay. And this is what I'm going to tell you about that. You need to respect their authority in their board position or in their position over you, but it doesn't mean you should be intimidated by it. If you respect all authority, you will understand that they are there to do a job and a function. So it's your job to help them do their job better, right? They need you. So you're really turning the tables on that authority interaction. They need you, okay? And that's why I'm getting to the little comic that I sent out on the text stream today. You've got a guy showing up to like a medieval or a Roman battle where they're doing swords and bows and arrows and spears, and he's got a machine gun, and he goes directly to the general of the troops with his machine gun, but the general says, "Nah, I'm too busy for that crazy salesman. Tell him to get lost." Right? So sometimes that's what authority is. Sometimes authority is people who are closed-minded and they want to do things the way they have always done them. You may have banged on that door before, may have banged on it several times, and they don't want to hear it. All right. But we're going to get over that one too. And we're going to give you some tools for that in a second. Number three, social comparison. When you compare yourself unfavorably to others based on appearances, achievements, or perceived strengths, that can lead to you feeling inferior. The social comparison, that keeping up with the Joneses, like they're in a different league than I am. No one, and hear me solid and loud and clear on this. Every single person on this call, there is no one better than you are. We are all equal as human beings. No one is better than you. They may have more money, they may have a better job, they may have more experience, they may have more contacts. That does not make them better than you. They just have a different story than you do. And every single person out there has something they can learn from you that they need from you. So that social comparison, you really just need to remember that. No one's better than you. Number 4, fear of rejection or judgment. And this is probably the hardest and biggest obstacle that is out there. Fear of rejection or judgment. And having spent 15 years at what I call in purgatory, which was commission only sales, I can tell you that you need to get over that fear of rejection right away, because you just have to develop a next attitude. Okay. And people, here's my reminder on this one: fear of rejection or judgment. People are way too busy thinking about themselves than they are to be thinking about you. We get in our own heads sometimes thinking, oh, what are they going to say? If they say this, how am I going to respond? Man, we'll go through 15 scenarios, 15 different lines of questioning and dialogue and back and forth in our own heads. And believe me, that person you're scared to pick up the phone and talk to, or go talk to, or make contact with, is not thinking any of that. It's not in their head at all. So you just need to clean the slate. Fear of rejection and judgment is in your own head. It is not in the other person's head. I promise you, it's not. Even if you did something radically stupid, they're going to forget about it by tomorrow. 24 hours, that would be dead and gone. So those are the 4 things that usually are stumbling blocks for intimidation. So how do we overcome intimidation? And now these are 12. I'm going to blow through them pretty quick, but they're essential, and I think they're going to be tools that will help you no matter where you are. If you're doing entrepreneur work, wherever you are in your business, these things will all help. Self-awareness, number 1. Acknowledge your feelings of perceived inadequacy or the authority or social comparison, fear of rejection. Be self-aware. What is your stumbling block? Figure out what that is and deal with it. Spend your time dealing with what's holding you back instead of creating all these scenarios in your head of why not. Okay. Number 2, and this is the most critical, and I want you to think about that machine gun meme again, that little cartoon. Know and believe that your product or service is valuable and necessary. When you know and believe that your service, your product is absolutely better than someone else's, or your customer service for the exact same product is better, that equalizes the playing field. In fact, it more than equalizes it, it puts you on higher ground. So you need to remember why you're doing what you're doing, who you're doing it for. It gets back to your why. And Rachel, you've talked about this. If you talk about it in your book, what is your why? Your why should be solving a problem, solving someone else's problem. And when you know and believe that what your solution to that problem is better than anything else they've got, you'll be able to pick up the phone. You'll be able to make those calls. You're going to be able to have those conversations. Promise. Number 3, how to overcome feelings of intimidation: preparation. And I'm not talking about procrastination here. I'm talking about real preparation. What are you doing to study your competition so that you can convince other people on a logical basis, a side-by-side comparison, why your product or service is better? Or what Rachel is great at doing, Jim mentioned this last week, she just shows up with half of the work done already, or all of the work done. Her homework is done. She lays it out there, and if you say no at that point, you're an idiot, right? I even had a person I used to work with. He used to go up to people. He said, if I made you a deal that you would have to be a complete idiot to turn down, what would you say? Well, what is anyone going to say? No, I'm going to turn it down because I'm a complete idiot. So being prepared is putting yourself in a position where no is not an option. Just be prepared. And then if you do get it, it's all about the follow-up. And I'm going to talk about that with some examples in just a second. Number 4, and we've dealt with this a lot on these calls, is positive self-talk. If you're going through your head and you've got the imposter syndrome, or you don't think you're qualified for whatever reason, replace those negative thoughts with the positive affirmations. This is absolutely critical to do on a regular basis. And I don't care who you are, we have those thoughts that crop up. And we just have to keep hammering back, counterpunching with positive. When the negative comes, counterpunch with positive. It's pretty easy. Number 5, focus on learning. If your focus is that you're here to get better at something, to learn a lesson from something, even if it's a no, even if it's a turn down, even if you didn't get the results you wanted, if your focus is on the learning, it's going to help you walk into those uncomfortable situations a lot easier. Number 6, my favorite, practice and exposure. How do you get better at football? Play football. How do you get better at Aikido or karate? Practice. No matter what it is we're doing, how do you get better at your job is doing more of it. And tied into that is number 7, seeking support. If you see somebody else doing your job better than you, seek them out. If they've got easier ways to do it, if they're having success and you're not, go find out why. And just be honest, right? Find out why. What is it I'm doing? And ask their opinion. What am I doing wrong? Can you watch me? Can you shadow me? Find ways to get that support. Seek the support and do it. Talk to your friends. Talk to your mentors. Bring it up in our Q&A in these groups. If you're seriously having some issues or some doubts, you need to bring them up. And this is a safe place to do that. Number 8, we've dealt with this as well, mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Calm yourself down. And on the flip side of that is number 9, power poses. And I've mentioned this before. If you've not watched it yet, YouTube, Amy Cuddy doing a TED Talks. All right. It is absolutely phenomenal. And she talks about getting yourself ready, getting yourself prepared. If you've got a phone call that you've been dreading making, if you've got a meeting that you're going into and you're feeling intimidated, you're feeling a little nervous about it, just doing a power pose 2 minutes before you go in. You can go to a bathroom and just stand up tall, lift your arms up in the air, breathe in and out, stand strong, stand tall, and then pick up the phone. It's not just the smiling when you're on the phone call, right? They always tell you that. Make sure you're smiling on the phone calls. It's more than that. It's being in a power position and being ready for that power position ahead of time. And 2 minutes can change your life. It really can. It can change the course of your business if you're dialing in and doing everything you can. Your body language to yourself matters as much as what you're telling yourself in your head. Your body language, the rest of your head will follow what your body's doing. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I know I've mentioned it before, please do it. Again, that's Amy Cuddy. I think Rachel actually put a link to that in the back end, if I'm not mistaken. Number 10, do not try to impress. Be authentic. That's one thing you get with the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate over and over. Be authentic. You are supposed to be you. You're not supposed to be Rod Kuntz. You're not supposed to be Jim Riley or Rachel Sababoda or Taylor or Wayne or Sean or Sam or Jocelyn, Chris, none of you. You are you. And that's your dynamite. That's your secret weapon. All right? So be authentic. Don't try to impress using buzzwords and language and all that kind of stuff. Just be you. You're going to pick stuff up by osmosis. You're just going to pick stuff up by being around it, and it's going to come out of you when it's necessary. And you need to trust that process. If you're around people who are positive and telling you things and how to say and what to say and how to act, and you're just around that enough, it's going to start coming out of you, right? It's that GEICO, garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out. So be authentic and don't try to impress. Number 11, this is my favorite. Develop a next mentality. Focus on your priorities, and your priorities are getting in front of the next person to accomplish your goal. whatever your goal, whatever your vision is, you need to get to that next one. If the first one is a strike, go to the next one. Next pitch, I'll take the next pitch, right? But you can always go back to that first one. And that's the other thing. Doubling back around is always a good thing. More on that in a little bit. The next mentality, and here's my little tip for that. I've mentioned this before. I hope on this group, do the 5-year, 5-minute rule. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't give it more than 5 minutes of your time. Okay, that will help you go to the next one on your list. And number 12, the easy one, know that courage builds confidence and also builds more courage. So get the hard one out of the way. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and then I'm going to have Jim and Rachel weigh in on this, and I'm hoping the rest of you as well. So when I wrote my book, I didn't have the maybe the wherewithal. I didn't have the connections. I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of fumbled my way through it, and I got it done on my own. I was proud of it. It's not perfect, but I didn't set out to write a bestseller. I set out to write a book that would make a difference in people's lives. And when I was done, one of the things I did, and it didn't happen right away, but I got this wild hair one day. I thought, I've got an idea. I want to send my book to the President of the United States. And I know that they can't take gifts. You know, it goes into some archive fund or something. So I wrote, and I've mentioned this. Some of you have been on here long enough. You've probably heard this story. But I wrote a letter to then President Donald Trump, and I sent him a copy of my book. And I said, I just wanted you to have this, and appreciate what you're doing. And short little letter, but I kept a copy of my letter. This was the fun part. I actually wrote that letter in December of 2018. I think I finished my book in, I don't know, September or October of 2018. And a year later, in 2019, I received a letter. And it probably isn't from Donald Trump. It's probably one of his staffers, but it is one of the telltale signatures, right, on the White House letterhead from the president thanking me for sending him a copy of the Warpath Alliance. So think big or go home. Was I intimidated? Did I think, who's going to do that? Well, here's the thing, going through all those different things, would it matter? Was he giving it a second thought? Were his staffers giving it a second thought? Heck no, I'm nothing out there, right? It's not a priority to them. But it got me something. It made me feel good. It was a victory. I won. It's in my win binder. So this helps develop confidence. It helps develop courage. If I can write a letter to the President of the United States and send him something I've created, what else can I do? Why can't I talk to the person down the street about a project I'm interested in? How hard is that? You know, so that's one thing. Let's look back just in August. Robert Greene and David Meltzer, two big guns in the public speaking field. I mean, we're talking international, right? Jim reaches out to one, Rachel reaches out to one. The next thing you know, what do you have? We could have said, they could have said, well, maybe we should start smaller. What are we thinking? The Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, we do what we teach. We step out. We will step out of our comfort zone. We will step up line. We will go to the top if that's what's necessary, because the worst that can happen is we might get set down a little bit, or we might have to come back to it at another time. But look what happened. Put on a great event at Chapman University. Again, just right up our alley, accomplished all the goals that we wanted. And it's another feather in our cap. It's a feather in your cap to be a part of a syndicate that can say something, teach something, and do something, because we're doing what we're talking about. Another example, you guys don't know all this yet. Things are still happening. Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, Jim, Rachel, and I have some other avenues that we're working with on the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. And we're looking at some big corporate stuff. And last year, we reached out to an international corporation with over 500,000 worldwide employees. And when I reached out to the chief executive officer with a pitch. And I didn't hear back. Well, I did hear back from the chief executive officer, and she didn't buy my pitch, but she sent my email to her staffers who would be in that category with what we were looking to do and said, these are the people that you need to talk to, and I'm sending your information directly to them, so they'll be expecting you. Okay? So, did we close the deal? Not yet. Not yet. It's still working. Big corporations take a long time to make decisions, to make policy changes, and this is big stuff. We're looking at big major changes. And so my goal for this next year is not just that corporation, but I'm going to their competition. I've already done all the homework. I need to know who I need to talk to, who the email goes to, who's the next phone call is going to be, because I'm doing it to the competition next. And do you think what's going to happen there? Do you think that's going to make that first door that I banged on first open up when I say, hey, yeah, your competition is already using some of what we're doing? We're going to keep going. And my advice to all of you tonight is start at the top. Go big or go home. I want you to think big. All right? Go for the Boone and Crockett records. For those of you hunters out there, find out whatever it is that you're doing. All right? What is your field? What is your expertise? What client base do you want? How do you tap into that? Go to the very top. Start there. And I know that everyone on this call probably has what we used to call a chicken list, right? Who's the one person that you feel most intimidated by? Who's that one client you want to bag? Who's the one you want? I know Rachel puts them on her radar and she stalks them, right? Who is it? What is it? What's that corporation? I want you, this is your assignment for next year, right? I'll give you some homework here. Who is your chicken list? Who's at the top of your chicken list? And you need to make contact. I'm not saying you have to make a sale. I'm not saying you have to close a sale. I'm not saying you have to get them to buy in. You have to make contact. They need to know who you are, whether it's an email, a text. Start following them on Instagram. Start engaging with that person on your chicken list, and then take it to the next step. Take it to the next step and just keep chasing it. Again, it took 11 months to get a response when I sent my stuff off to the president. I didn't have anything to lose. What was I doing in that 11 months? Sitting at home waiting for a response? No. After I sent it off, I never thought about it again. I didn't do a follow-up. I sent some off to some other big names too, but I haven't heard back from them. But I heard back from the top. Okay? So that's your homework. Get your chicken list out. I can tell you, here's another example from my own life. When I first threw my hat in the ring to be on city council, and that's not a big deal, right? I mean, this is a small community, 20 plus thousand, not a big deal, but it is a big deal when you've never done anything in the government. When I didn't know what a PUD or a TIF, I didn't understand how the legislative process worked and legislative priorities, and I just didn't. I was a neophyte. All I knew was I had a passion for something. I threw my hat in the ring. I'm up against all the people that are the bigwigs, the well-knowns, the people who go to every council meeting, who stand up and have something to say, something intelligent to say all the time. And they're the members of Rotary and the Lions clubs and the Chambers of Commerce. And I was out of all that stuff. Was I intimidated? Yes. I did it anyway. I did it anyway. And there were 11 other people with, believe me, much better pedigrees, a lot more IQ than I'm brandishing, a lot more of everything. And I was just authentic. I got up and I told them who I was. I didn't waste any of their time. Asked them if they'd read my letter of introduction, my letter of interest. And when they acknowledged it, I just said, you've got a hard decision to make. I understand. I'm here to serve. Short, simple, and to the point. And I was elected by those very leaders to serve on that city council. And then I ran for election and won again. But I was intimidated. I didn't know what I needed to know to get the job done. And that's the point. You don't need to know everything to get the job done. You need to take that first step. And that's my encouragement to all of you tonight. Whatever your chicken list is, go after it. Make the first step. And the next step is easier. You know, once you lead off, in the military, we always start off with the left foot, right? You take left foot forward and then the right foot follows. You know, forward march. That's the command. I'm asking you to take that next step. I don't care what it is, starting a new business, writing that business plan. Who do you need to consult with? Do what's necessary. So that is, in a nutshell, how to overcome intimidation. You know what the weaknesses are, identify them. Whatever those steps are that you need to take, I want you to start diving in. I'm open for questions, not on this topic necessarily, but anything else. While you're thinking about what you would like to ask or say, what your input is, or if you've got a story to share with us, Jim, would you weigh in first?
Yeah, you're funny. I've never heard the chicken list in my whole entire life. So thanks for sharing that. What's interesting, right now, actually, I don't have a chicken list. And I like the homework because that'll put me back to work to figure out what that looks like. One of my favorite movies growing up in the mid to late 80s was Wall Street. And if you know the movie at all, there's a point where the big line is, "I bagged Gecko." And that's where the salesman, he'd made a daily call for like a year, you know, every day to get the client. And Gecko was on his chicken list and was at the top. So when he gets off the phone, he says, "I bagged Gecko." The whole office goes silent and they look at him like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And then he went on to make a bunch of money and all kinds of trouble that came with that money. But it's a great line. And to your point, everybody should have a chicken list so you know what the target is. I'm reading one of the dozen books that I got from Grant Cardone for Christmas, and he talks similarly to what the chicken list should be like, but more or less it's who has my money and who am I going to go get it from, right? So I think it's a great lesson, good idea. I also wanted to bring up too, when you talked about us pitching that big corporation, you know, what's great about that move is that we talked to several top level executives within that company. And I'm talking about several Zoom calls with these people to keep the ball moving. And it was really on their side. I think the reality is they're caught in their own red tape right now because every single person there endorsed what we were doing. But the point I want to make about that is seamlessly, we've put that on somewhat of a back burner. In other words, we're not sitting back waiting for them to do something. We're continuing to move forward and we're doing a dozen other things. And we circle back with them once in a while. We've got little triggers and say, "Hey, let's reach back to them, see where they're at." So it's really easy for us to get stuck in this little circle of waiting for that person on our list. And we keep waiting and we never go anywhere. So have the confidence to move on. Don't forget about checking back. And oftentimes that's when you get them, is when you've checked back year after year. I know Rachel brought up a client after years of pitching, she finally got him. So it always pays to keep moving forward. I will say what's great about this list is it works simultaneously for another activity that some of you will be doing, or at least at some point might do, and that is some form of public speaking. You know, just like in intimidation in business, people are intimidated to speak publicly, but there's really nothing on this list, and Rod, I took good notes here, that doesn't apply to you having a better skill in front of others in public speaking. So if that's something that you're aspiring to do down the road, I know we've got a few authors in the group, you know, maybe your career leads you into public speaking. Well, you can take this list and apply it to what you need to be working on to get up in front of others. You know, again, there's nothing on here that doesn't apply to that as well. So it's a great list. And, you know, finally, when it comes to intimidation. We're all just people. We all started somewhere, and there's nothing like just communicating with one another. And even if you're selling a goods or service, it's okay to communicate that in an authentic and real way. And people that will utilize your service will respect that. People that will never use it or are not interested or really aren't worth your time, they won't respect it. And that'll be your indicator, like, okay, I'll just move on. But don't be intimidated by those types of people, because chances are you wouldn't want to do business with them anyhow. So keep moving through the process, build up these tools. There was a lot of them, Rod. So good job with giving us a lot to work with there. But if you can't get to all of them, maybe focus on a few that you think that you could be good at, or that you can really build out your tool chest in that arena. Really honing in on what your authentic pitch looks like, or what makes you authentic in your business, or when you're talking to others, or things that you talk about. Gosh, this is a night of Rachel references, by the way. She gave us a reference, when somebody says, what do you do for work? Give them your why instead of what you do, and that comes off as more authentic. So there's a lot to this. So anyways, thanks, Rod. I'll let Rachel take it from there.
Yeah. But before I have you jump in, Rachel, I wanted to mention with that major corporation, we didn't putting them on the back burner and just staying in touch. When you're staying in touch, it should be relevant to, the reason that you're doing business with them, or the reason you approach them to begin with. And one thing I will say is my last reach out to those people was just before the Chapman University event. And I had sent all those high-level executives that we'd been talking to invitations to go to that event. And I know most of them weren't even in the area, but at least they knew what we were doing, and that we were working with some high-level people, and some major universities, to give ourselves that credibility. So be thinking outside the box while you're in the box, right? You can do both, and just be leveraging intelligently. Rachel, I'll turn it over to you now. Thanks.
All right. I love all the Rachel references tonight. That's awesome. Love when that happens. So thank you for that. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, good. I put my headphone in because I thought it would have a little less bounce back on the sound. And yeah, I love that some of my stories made it in, but I think I'm going to share one tonight that I may not have shared before. And it's about intimidation, so it ties into what we were talking about tonight. But I find that even like at this stage in business, there are people that I get starstruck over and intimidated by because they're more successful, they've been in the business longer, they're more accomplished, they're older, whatever it is, right? There's a little bit of that like dorky starstruck thing. And I had that in such a very big way when I met Robert Greene, the author of 48 Laws of Power and all the other best-selling books that he's written. And I'm going to share something with you guys that I would not sharing with anybody else, but I've gotten to be such good friends with Robert. When I first met him in the airport, when we were on an airplane together, I was so intimidated, but I was like, I'm going to make small talk with this person. And then we became friends, and I've been to his house, and, it's like, I lovingly call him Grandpa Robert, because, when Grandpa calls, we're going to be on the phone for like an hour, and he texts all the time. And it's like, it took a little while for me to realize that he's a normal person, just like everybody else. I don't need to, just because he's, really super famous in my eyes, but I like that. It was my most recent feeling of intimidation. And another one that I'll share just for fun is there's this client I have. She's a dear friend and client, and she's been with me 8 years. And her name, by the way, is Sherelle Jackson. And she has this amazing business consulting, and she's a career CEO. She also has this nonprofit called Leadership in Heels, which is a female like empowerment organization. And the first time I ever saw her, she was speaking to a room of like 1,000 people, giving a keynote address. And I swear I was like, oh, she's going to be friends. I really want to know her. And I kind of did what you guys are talking about. I found reasons to connect. I found reasons to get to know her in a meaningful way. And we've been really dear friends ever since. So sometimes it's clients, sometimes it's relationships, but, identifying those people that you really want in your life and then going after it has been so powerful for me. And it's made such a great impact on my life and my kids and, my network and everything like that. So and I'd never heard the term chicken list either, by the way, but I like it. And now I'm going to affectionately use that. And I was having status call with my team today, and we're talking about how Christmas, falls on a Monday, and it's kind of weird because everyone's probably, taking Friday off, or, it's going to be a really weird work week. But we spent like half the time today talking about new business. What new business is going to close before the end of the year? Who do we want for next year? Right. So I'm glad that we're talking about that here. I think it's very valuable for everybody on the team and in this community to be a part of that dialogue. So those are my highlights to share today. And then I want to spend some time talking about our transition, but I don't know, guys, if we're talking about that today, and I'm sorry we didn't pregame on it, but Rod, Jim, are we talking about that today?
Well, I brought it up last week that we were transitioning off the Jadari community. Why don't we give it some time for any Q&A with other people? And if we've got a few minutes at the end, we can give a recap on that.
Sounds good. Any other comments about the chicken list? And let's see if we can get Rachel, I have to say, I really appreciate that it's about relationships, not just business. So thanks for bringing that up. That kind of changes everything. So what are we doing? How can we best help you, all of you in this syndicate, to evolve, to tackle what's in front of you? And if any of you have had a major win, we'll take that too. If you just need to share that with someone. I know some of you had, and some of you are even driving a new vehicle. Actually, she's not on the call now, but we've got stuff. Jocelyn's up there. It's nice to see you back, Jocelyn. Go ahead and unmute and let's listen to you.
This was really timely for me because I've been ever since the book came out, I've been feeling like I haven't had any direction, and I feel kind of fizzled out. Like I don't know which way to go. And I don't know. I don't know if I get too much going like that. I'm writing a business plan right now to possibly expand the maple syrup business. I still always dabble in real estate investment. I just think I get too much going and then I just get overwhelmed maybe. I don't know. I've been kind of down in the dumps lately because I just feel like the momentum is not going, and it makes me feel like I'm not progressing then.
Well, thanks for sharing that, Jocelyn. I'll weigh in first, and then Jim or Rachel, if you've got something to add. I will just say this first, that we have been taught this lie that we can multitask, right? And that's true, and it's not true. When you're doing something, you have to go all in on that one thing. And I always say, chase the momentum. While you said you're fizzling out. Well, if you can't get that momentum to fizzle back up, then maybe you need to just take a little break from it, but do it strategically. When you're prioritizing what's in front of you, you're talking real estate, you're talking, maple syrup business, you're talking your book promotion. Those are three major things. So really sitting down and having a strategic plan for each one of those three things, and then giving them each the time they deserve. Pretend that you're a consultant for each one of those things. You're consulting you're your own client now. What would you be telling your client to do for each one of those three things? And then do a strategic plan for them, and just you can juggle it, but you have to juggle it one at a time. You can't juggle all three at the same time. You're going to have to give each one the time they deserve and the attention they deserve to get it done. So those are three big things. And then you've got a child who's just gone through major surgery, and we've got life things, and we've got Christmas coming up. So yeah, we get it. We get it. But when you have momentum, it's easier to keep that momentum going. And I always find that, yeah, you have to prioritize so those other tasks don't fall away, but chasing the momentum will keep that momentum going also. So when
I,
people were reaching out about your book and all that kind of stuff, I think that's good stuff to chase and keep the momentum going. So that's my quick advice in a nutshell. Jim or Rachel?
hey, Jocelyn, I wanna jump in here because I feel like I have totally been there, and I know exactly what you're feeling, and I call it the post-project letdown. Like after I finish a big project or like a big event, there's like this sense of almost like an emptiness, right? Like, because there's this drop in adrenaline, and it's a shift from high stress or like a goal oriented mode into a more regular pace. You're actually like downshifting, right? And all that anticipation and excitement and stress leading up to it, all of a sudden it's not there, and this triggers this feelings of like sadness or loss, and you're like, why? I just accomplished all this stuff. I should be feeling so proud of myself. Why am I having this letdown? It's a downshift. And so if you think about it as a downshift, then you can also think, well, next time you need that little extra oomph, you can upshift, imagine like an old stick shift car. But try to appreciate and enjoy the downtime a little bit and be like, okay, this is when I can actually take the extra 10 minutes for visualization and mindfulness today. Oh, I think I'm going to actually do a yoga class today. And the fact that I'm going to have a slower pace is nothing to have anxiety about or sadness about. It's a blessing. So congratulations on finishing all those great things. I am so proud of you. It's amazing.
I'm gonna go and weigh in too. I was gonna say exactly what Rachel said. It's a post-event feeling. Back in the day when Samantha and I were racing Spartan races competitively, you ramp up for the race, you go race, whatever happens, and you come back off of that, get back to the gym the next week, and you're like, okay, I gotta go. And the trainer's like, well, hold on a minute. You've got to recover from this event. You just spent all this time building up for it. You got to ease back in. And like Rachel said, enjoy the fruits of your labor and realize what you're under right now. This goes for anybody, by the way. Any type of event or exercise or build up in your business and you accomplish it, you will feel the same at one level or another. And having the ability to identify that, this is a really good question that you brought up, Jocelyn, because knowing how to identify that and understand what you're going through from a feelings perspective, you can combat that with your next step. So I think Rachel's advice of, hey, slow down, Rod's advice of, spend some time, consulting yourself on each business, use this holiday time. And this is why I talk about, working through the holiday, use this holiday time to consult yourself on what you want to do in each arena of your business, and then ramp back up appropriately, into the new year, based on what your business plans are and what your goals are and your financial goals and your family needs and all this other stuff. So I understand what you're feeling is normal, happens to all of us. Once you've got that, and hopefully when you get off this call, you'll feel good about it. Start working on your plans for the future. Enjoy the holidays, enjoy some rest, in your family and recovery and all that other stuff. So really, really good question. Thanks for being transparent on that.
And Rachel, thank you again. I'm going to call you out again too, because I'd actually thought of that, the letdown part of it, but I wouldn't have talked about feelings, and I'm glad you did, because that's why you're Rachel and I'm Rod. So, not so easy for me to do. I don't go down that road. I'm a fixer. I'm trying to solve the dang problem. I'm not going to acknowledge anyone's feelings until now. Now I have to. So anybody else need to weigh in here? And we'll give the last few minutes to talk about our shift coming up for 2024 and what that means to everyone. Anybody? I'm not seeing any hands here. All right. Well, Jim, if you want to do a recap quick of what we're going to be doing, and then I'll have Rachel talk about details.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. So we did talk about it briefly last week about our dropping off of the Jadari platform. I didn't hear from anybody that they were opposed to that. Again, I just feel like we all have so many platforms that we're supposed to live and breathe on. To have one less is okay with me and probably everybody else. Rachel's already updated our website that's always been there and has always been a resource for you, but it's been updated again, and we'll continue adding the materials and resources that we've talked about on these calls on there. These calls are all recorded. You'll find those in the same place. So really nothing's changing. What I would do is encourage everybody on these Zoom calls, if you want to network with somebody, send them a direct message if you feel like you need to get a hold of them, and you can network through these calls. That's why there is this messaging, opportunity on Zoom. So take advantage of that if you want to connect with somebody. I would also encourage everybody to participate in the calls, and don't be afraid to, talk about what you're doing or asking questions about what you're doing. That's how we all get to know one another and bring value to one another through our efforts. And also, as you know, you can reach out to Rod, myself, or Rachel at any time if you need support or help in something. There's a few members that are really good about reaching out, and I'm happy to take those calls. And they know that as well. So don't be afraid to do that. You've got some incredible resources here. Rachel can talk about what the logistics look like in terms of this transition. And I'll just apologize if, there's going to be a little bit of work to re-input your personal information, things like that. But that's the only way we can drop off the Jadari platform and go back to what we had before. So thank you for putting in the effort to allow us to do that. And we'll continue to bring value on this side. So Rachel, you want to talk about kind of the semantics of that transition for members?
Yeah. You guys, I'm really excited about this because while we're transferring out of Jadari, there's actually some great functionality that we're adding that didn't exist before. Well, maybe it did, but we weren't using it. So when you log in now, there's a home page, and on the home page, there's a link to the Monday night Zoom calls. There's a direct link to all the recordings that are all available on YouTube, unlisted. And there's a new thing, which is a link to a member directory. And we pre-populated this with all of our current members' names and as much contact information as we could find. So some of you're going to see like your company is listed, your email is there, your phone number is there. Others, it's going to say, it's going to be a company, and it's going to say, it's going to be blank, or email, and it's going to be blank. And so I'm going to be reaching out to each person on the call and every member. And I'm going to be asking you, hey, is it okay? Are you good with putting your company name and your email and your phone number? Or do you not want that? There's also a form on there where you can update that information yourself. So you can also add other things like your Instagram handle or I'm also putting links to everybody's LinkedIn profile that I can locate. So, nothing that's not already public, but it would just, I think, be great for our members to encourage communication. So there's that. The other thing I'm going to be asking as I reach out to all of you is right now, the back end, like billing through Jadari, is all got to switch over to us. So each person has different timing and different structure. So I'm going to be reaching out to you individually to help with that transition, just so that it's smooth and easy for you guys to go through it. And I'm going to be doing that over the next week. So it should be seamless in terms of your billing back end, but I just want to make sure that you all get set up successfully and we walk through any hurdles or hiccups together. So it's all there for you guys. And the link, I should put the link in here. I know I put it in one of our group chats, but it's up on the website now. And if you wanted to go check it out, you just need to make your username and log in. But since I haven't switched over all the billing yet, they might be a little premature. So if you can wait until I contact you, that would probably be the best thing, unless you need something right away. Which reminds me of my last thing. I know we say we'll do individual one-on-one coaching and mentoring calls. I gotta tell you, one of our members took me up on that last week. We had an amazing one-on-one coaching call, and I just feel like it added a lot of value to her. And I was so happy to do it. It was great. So don't be shy. And there's links to our Calendlies on the back end too. So if you wanted to just schedule independently and just automatically put it on our calendars, that's okay as well. Whatever you'd like. Really happy to do it. This group is wonderful, and I'm really proud of everybody that has been with us, you know, since the beginning, and that's still joining and adding to it now. We're going to be going into year 3. This is amazing. This is really great. So thank you guys.
Hey, I want to touch on one more thing on the maintenance of this. By the way, you know, when Rachel's talking about uploading your company information, what you do and all that other stuff, take the time to do that. I met Jim Spilson in another group a couple of years ago, and that's, you know, we saw some commonality there. He saw something he wanted to talk about, and he reached out to me because my contact information was in there. And look how far we've gotten down this road. We've built a wonderful relationship. You know, I typically look at all my businesses and evaluate, like, hey, are we making money? Is it worth the effort? Or do we like what we're doing? Are we going in the right direction? And that's where part of this conversation came from, removing the Jodari platform and just kind of streamlining things like that. I want to compliment both Rod and Rachel, and I want everybody to understand this on the call. The money that we have made from this group, from these calls since we started, and like Rachel said, we're going to year 3, not one of us has taken a dime from that. We did some teaching at Stillwater, and there was a little bit of extra revenue from that, and we did pay out a little dividend there. But when I reached out to Rod and Rachel about the transition or next year and what that looks like, I said, well, do you guys want to keep doing this? Because I know it's not revenue generating for our businesses. And we all agreed that this is exactly where we want to be. We enjoy this. We feel good about the work that's being done here. We love the memberships here. And I just want you to know that it's, for us, it's a kind of a labor of love, and it's not about the financial side of it. Money does make businesses run, but it's not filling our pockets, you know, to say, oh, we got to do this because we're making money. And I just want to bring that up because I want you to know how much the leadership cares about everybody in this group. I received a really nice text message today from one of our members, and some things that we had said openly about them. And they're like, gosh, if I could ever repay you, right? Well, the only payment that we would ever want is just tell more people about the group so that we can reach more people or help more people. And let's spread this a little bit further and grow our numbers so that really is what our original goal was, is to help as many people as possible. So if you ever feel like you want to give back to this group, let's expand who's in here and what we're doing, and know that it's a labor of love and passion for the 3 of us. So Rod, I'll let you close it out. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Oh, Jim Spilson, you're up. Go ahead and unmute.
I have a question. So I went in just now to youngentrepreneurs.syndicate.com. I couldn't remember exactly my login, but it appeared to log me in. I was able to go into the right side and update some of my member information, but I couldn't find anything for like LinkedIn or other items. And now after I click save and I close, I tried to look around the site. I can't log in at all. Like I've lost all access to everything.
Jim,
Okay.
why don't you let Rachel address that personally with you?
Yep. Jim, why don't we troubleshoot this? Are you available tomorrow?
I got a decent amount of availability tomorrow.
Okay.
If you want to
all
text
right.
me or email or something, we'll pick a time and.
Perfect. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
sure.
We'll troubleshoot tomorrow. Thank you.
Excellent. Anybody else? All right. I do want to close because I brought this up partly because I knew it was going to make me hold myself accountable. I am working on a project about college for those of you with kids in college or thinking about going to college or will be going to college. And I'm doing a lot of work on that. And I decided what I really need is Rachel to put her stamp on it because she just has this way of cleaning everything up. And I don't want to give you guys bad material. So Rachel, that's going to be coming to you also. But I'm not going to put a giant hurry on it. I know you've got a ton of this other stuff going on, but that's my promise to all of you that I am working on it, diligently working on it. And the other thing I will say is with membership and that sort of thing, we have some big plans to do more for all of you as well. You know, having events and that sort of thing. And if there's money to be made to be spent on something, it's going to be to further what's happening with this group, to give you more value. It's not to give us something more, it's to give you all more value and to increase the reach. So anyway, I appreciate, Jim, that you brought that up. I think it is important for people to know and to see what our vision is as well. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this, and I thank you all. I appreciate every one of you for being here. Jim, you've got something else?
Yeah, just real quick, when you look at the schedule, next Monday is obviously Christmas Day. People will be with their families. I may shoot out a text that week for a last minute call. I'm kind of giving myself a little bit of grace, but I know the last time we had a holiday that fell on the night of our call, I felt like it was way too long between calls. So if you get a text from me next week for a call, that's the real deal. So anyways.
Yeah, Jim, I think what we decided we were going to do too is we're going to do the 26th of December, Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and January 2nd, Tuesday at 6 o'clock.
There you go.
So we're locked in. We'll be here, and just jump on it. Maybe real quick, it might just be to say Merry Christmas. What'd you get? Did you get everything you wanted? And Happy New Year. But we will be here, and we will bring value. And in the time being, I guess, Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Good night.